Hello friends, the topic for discussion today is Globalized Economy and Hindi Cinema. And in one of the earlier lectures concerning the Hindi cinema and the globalized economy, we talked about the kind of changes which have come in the Hindi film industry over a period of time with the arrival of the globalization, liberalization and privatization, especially from the 1990s. And in the earlier lecture, we talked about the kind of changes which came in the production stage, the kind of changes which came in the exhibition as well as the distribution stage in the context of the film industry when the economy was liberalized, and how we have also seen that the arrival of the multiplexes during this particular period, low budgeted films, they could be exhibited in these multiplexes. Earlier when the big cinema halls they were there, the films they were being shown to an audience of around 1200 to 1300, keeping in mind the kind of capacity of the big cinema theater was. But in the multiplexes there is some kind of a leverage in that sense that 150 to 200 or maybe 250, that is the capacity of the multiplexes. So small budgeted films, they can be accommodated in these multiplexes, and these films they can also become successful when they are being shown, because there is a lot of flexibility in terms of matching the shows, matching the timings, etc. We also have seen that with the coming of the big companies in that context, that how the industry was corporatized, and with the coming of the corporates in the film industry, we find that some kind of changes they were being witnessed during this time, that how some kind of bound scripts they were being made available to the people, those who were working in the film industry, which was not the case in the earlier times. And we also have seen that the coming of the foreign technicians, etc., and the various kinds of technology which were being used in the Western industry, they were also being now used in the Indian industry as well, and it in a way improved the technical aspects of the films which are made in India. And when you talk about the kind of references, you can see on the screen that how Reni Bhattacharya Mehta and Rajeshwari, Bollywood and Globalization, Indian Popular Cinema, Nation and Diaspora. Then David and Kavita Karan, Bollywood and Globalization, the Global Power of Popular Hindi Cinema. And then S. Yoshio, Article, Indian Cinema in an Age of Globalization. So these are some of the readings apart from the others which one can refer to when one is trying to talk about the Hindi films in the context of the globalized economy, where you find that how because of the globalization number of changes they have come in the film industry. We also have seen that some important issues in this particular period have also been apart from the kind of changes which came in the exhibition or production as well as the distribution. And one of the concerns which has been seen in the recent times is the way that how the piracy concern has been there, and it is one of the major revenue loss for the distributors, and how internet with its trouble-free convenience and unique power to reach at remarkable rapidity makes battle against piracy too complex. And the steps which could be taken could be the strict laws, the decreasing DVD or VCD release gap, and decreased cost, etc. So piracy is one of the important concerns, where how the distributors they are losing a lot of money, that has to be taken into account. And we see that some of the strict laws they have also been made with regard to piracy, and strict implementation of these laws is one of the important concerns which has to be kept in mind. Then we also see that how the DVD or VCD release, this kind of a gap, it should be in a way decreasing over a period of time. And we also have seen that with the coming of the globalization, the way the male protagonists, they have been in a way depicted in the films, that has also gone a lot of kind of a change. And we have seen that some of the films, the anti-hero portrayal of the film stars that could also be seen in films like Bazigar, Dawn, Fana, where we find that the male protagonist has been shown in a negative manner. Negative in the sense that some shades of grey they are being there. And so from that point of view, we find that the kind of opinion which the audience has with regard to stardom, that has also changed, and fresh energies could also be seen in the aspects of filmmaking. And we find that how some of the advertising conglomerates, they are also in a way engaged in film production. The entertainment and the media conglomerates production, they in a way guarantee that the films they are being showing on the pay cable television. They also in a way produce and sell soundtracks which are based on the films, as well as the CDs and DVDs of these films. We also find that how the comics, books, merchandise, they are to be sold in the various retail markets. So in a way, not only the film as a product is being exhibited, but at the same time a lot of paraphernalia, a lot of products associated with that particular film, they are also being used by these companies to in a way earn profits as well. We also have seen that over a period of time the way film finance has also changed, and Hindi films, they were being financed by the structured sources, institutions, bank loans, private equity, venture capital from the institutions and private sources, directly or through investment vehicles and companies. And when they are being led by the media and entertainment companies, they were also raising money through the various IPOs. And the high net worth individuals and companies conventionally not involved in media and entertainment business, they have also come into the picture nowadays. We have seen in this way that how people, they have also been asked to in a way finance these kind of projects or ideas, and how people, those who are investing in the films, they also get their profit sharing in the film collections, and they are being recognized as co-producers in the films. Some of the films like Onir's I Am, it won the 2 national awards, and it was a crowd-funded film. And Onir, who was the director, he argued that over 400 investors in I Am got acknowledged as co-producers in films, and they shared the profits as well. So the sum collected for the film was 3 crores, and it is in a way considered to be one of the safe options for reducing the risk of investment in terms of sharing the loss between the various members. So crowdfunding in that sense is kind of a thing which is in a way important from the point of view of the producers. And when so many people, they are producing a film, then all of them, for example, we talked about a film by Onir, I Am, and how all of them, they were being recognized as co-producers as well. And this in a way also reduces the risk of investment by few individuals, as so many of them, they are in a way investing in that particular film. And we also see that how various companies, for example UTV, or for matter Reliance Big Pictures or Yashraj Films, all of them, they have also in a way entered into the various kinds of partnerships with a number of production houses as well. And we also have seen that how some of the companies, they have in a way acquired cinema halls in US in areas inhabited by Indian diaspora to exhibit the Hindi films. So how the Hindi films, they have become popular in the other parts of the world, and how these films, they are being exhibited in these foreign countries. And so from that point of view, they are also in a way able to earn the foreign exchange. So culture, or in that sense, as a source of earning the foreign exchange, could be seen in the context of the films which could be in a way exhibited in the foreign countries. We also see that how a number of films which have been made in the recent times, they have also in a way fascinated the non-resident Indian market, and we find that such kind of films which are being in a way made for the NRIs or the non-resident Indians there, and how some of the films like Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, these films, it was being argued by some of the film critics that these films, they were being made for the NRI audience, and these films, they became quite popular in foreign markets. So in that sense, when films, they are being in a way taken to the global audience, when they are being presented to the global audience, for example, Jurassic Park, Speed, Titanic, Avatar, so even the children's film Aladdin, how they were being in a way distributed and they were being marketed, and how these films, they had subtitles in the native languages, and how they were also being dubbed so that people from other languages could also see these particular films. And we find that many a times when big budget films, they are not to be made because there are constraints in terms of production by these producers, those who do not have that kind of money. So these filmmakers are many a times making crossover films in English targeted at the prosperous city inhabitants and the worldwide NRI spectators. And many a times some of the filmmakers, they are making these kinds of films to the people, those who are living in the metropolitan cities. And we find that many times low budget films, they become quite popular, and they are able to do a lot well at the box office. Makdi was one such film which was made at a very low budget, and thereafter how this film became very popular, and it was able to in a way garner a lot of revenue. We have also seen that Joggers Park, was one of a small or low budget film, and this film was in a way made by Subhash Ghai as some sort of a portfolio approach to filmmaking, which divides the investment among the small, medium, and the big budget films. That at the same time, different films of small, medium, and big budget, they are being produced, and how such kind of films, they also found their audience and consumers, and how these films, they also became quite popular among the masses. We also have seen that how the kind of changes which have come in the mainstream cinema, how they have in a way popularized certain capital driven phenomena in India. For example, Valentine's Day, greeting cards, basketball, all these kinds of opening of the bazaar for the new cultural goods could be seen in the films. And many a times the provincial and parochial Indian customs like Karwa Chauth and Dadia, they have a lot of pan-India audience, and how they have also been converted into some kind of a cultural capital. And from that point of view, scholars, they have seen and communicated that how the Coca-colonization and the McDonaldization for creating some kind of homogeneous taste and preferences. So this is in a way seen as some sort of a ploy by the multinational corporations, that how multinational corporations, they are in a way trying to popularize Coca-Cola as well as McDonald's, such kind of things in various kinds of markets. And when you in a way try to relate them with the local kinds of customs, as we were talking about Karwa Chauth, that how these kinds of customs which are conservative and traditional in nature, they are being promoted and they are being advertised in such a manner that they have been transformed into some kind of national festivals. And many a times they have also been embraced by the women of other community or other sphere, those who were not even observing such kind of festivals earlier. And we find that a custom of sacrifice, for example, Karwa Chauth, was transformed into a festival of consumption, where more and more people, they are in a way purchasing things for the festival, and at the same time investing a lot of money or spending a lot of money on that particular festival. And scholars like Santosh Desai, they have in a way argued that how the role of husband has changed from being a passive and somewhat superior receiver of attention to being a somewhat guilty and unsure sympathizer, sometimes observing a fast to demonstrate solidarity and purchasing gifts to tone down his guilt. So such customs are in a way acquiring huge proportions because they are being used purposefully to drive consumption. As you can see, this film clip from DDLJ. So as you have seen in the film clip, and how this particular song, as songs are very, very popular from the point of view of the audience, then many a times we have seen that how even before the release of the films, the songs of a particular film, they become popular, and they in a way also decide the fate of the film at the box office. So this film had so many popular songs, and it was one of them. And it is in a way trying to present the conventional customs which are there in the Indian society, and how this film and so many others, even after DDLJ, they have tried to project some of the regressive festivals like Karwa Chauth in a manner that that they became quite popular from the point of view of commercialization in India. We have seen that how such kind of films, they also became bandwagons of such kind of rituals. And if you try to see the television, that how soap opera which is there in television, it is also engaged in creation and recreation of the festivals on the screen on daily basis, as if all households in the country are engaged in preparation of one festival after another. So such kind of portrayals, they are happening quite frequently on the screen, especially on television. And this way a lot of commercialization is also taking place, and many times we feel that the general audience cannot help but feel inadequate if they are not able to do it. So we also find that apart from such kind of portrayals, many a times how the various kinds of items or products, they are also being placed in the films. And because we find that such kind of placements, they have a larger shelf life, that films, they are not being seen only once, but they are, when they are being purchased by the television channels, then time and again these films, they are being shown on that television channel, and so they have that kind of a repeat value. And when film stars, they are in a way connected with certain products, they are also lending some kind of a credibility to these kinds of product. And in a way, product placement, they create more impact than the traditional advertising, and they have more chances of reinforcing their message, as films, they are being seen in a number of times. And we also see that how over a period of time, the Indian middle class, which is cosmopolitan in their approach and aspiration, and the economic reforms which came in the 1990s, they in a way ensured that the people, they have more opportunities to earn and spend money. And this coming of the economic reforms in 1990s, with a revolution in IT, information technology, and an inflow of the United States cultural imports, led to an increase of Western style production as well as consumption as well. And if we go back, for example, to the films which were made in the earlier period, not 1990s, which is the times of the globalization, we find that earlier also some kinds of product placements could be seen. Kishore Kumar promoted Coca-Cola in film called Chalti Ka Naam Gaadi in 1950s, and how Rajdoot bike, it became popular in Raj Kapoor's film Bobby in 1973. Though it is unknown if Raj Kapoor received any money from Enfield for the scene. Similarly, Subhash Ghai's Tal, in which we find that how Aishwarya Rai and Akshay Khanna, they were sharing a bottle of Coke, and how Coke became some sort of a symbol for this film, and how Hum Saath Saath, another film, was associated with Coca-Cola. So we find that how advertising industry as well as the film industry, they are trying to collaborate with each other in some way. And many times the advertisers, they are trying to present the films in some way, how the products, they are being inserted in the films in such a manner that they become intrinsic to the storyline of the film. So all these kinds of tactics, or in a way devices, they are being employed by the advertisers to in a way incorporate their products in the films, so that their products, they have some kind of a repeat value, and their products, they are also in a way associated with those film stars as well. And we also find that how with the arrival of different kinds of technologies, whether the cable television or DTH direct to home, and thereafter how the coming of the mobile phones, the smartphones for example, and the availability of internet 24 into 7, and the reducing cost of the mobile telephone bills, where internet connections, they are there available to the audience at all points of time. We find that the advertising industry, as well as the brand placement in cinema and television serials, all of them, they have become bandwagon of the new consumption patterns. And the films which have been made over a period of time, they also have placed a lot of emphasis on the visual effects as well. For example, some of them like Koi Mil Gaya, Krish, Ravan, Krish 3. Then secondly, the employment of the foreign technicians, those who are known for their technical inputs in some of the biggest blockbusters of Hollywood, they have also been used in Hindi films as well. So this kind of an exchange of trained workforce has also in a way contributed to the development of the films as well. And we also have seen that how there's a lot of emphasis on the markets and the stars in the film, fashion, health, events, all of them, all sorts of programs, they are there on the television. And even the news channels, they in a way support such issues and sensationalism. And there's a lot of focus on the glamour as well as the lifestyle, so you have a lot of lifestyle channels as well. And we also have seen that how some of the Indian filmmakers, they have also become popular abroad as well. For example, Gurinder Chadha and Meera Nair, all of them, both of them, they have also made films which have Indian cultural roots, but at the same time they have been financed by the Western producers. And we see for example, Bride and Prejudice by Gurinder Chadha and Monsoon Wedding by Meera Nair. Both of them in a way are set in India in that way. The setting is comparatively Indian. And how some of the other filmmakers like Deepa Mehta, who has made this trilogy of Fire, Earth and Water. So we find that when such kind of films which have been made by the international filmmakers, and all these three have been the women filmmakers, and when these kinds of films, they are being exhibited in other countries, they are available with the subtitles, and they are also many times dubbed as well. And how the Western public relation firms, they are also playing an important role in terms of publicity as well. And some of the newspapers, they have in a way started publishing reviews of these films on a regular basis, like the New York Times and the Washington Post. And we also find that the multiplexes in New York, San Francisco and Toronto, they routinely premiere the Hindi films as well. And some of the film personalities of India, like A.R. Rahman, who composed and collaborated with the Pussycat Dolls for the hit song Jai Ho for the British film Slumdog Millionaire. And how Rasul Pukutti, he mixed the sound for Slumdog Millionaire. And a major studio contributing to the international film is Ramoji Film City in Hyderabad. And Ravan and Krish 3, they saw a lot of technical collaboration. And with this technical collaboration, we find that these kinds of exchanges also in a way provide some kind of a help or boost to the Indian technicians as well, those who are in a way supporting some of the trained technicians from abroad, and some kind of a mutual exchange of information, knowledge and expertise also takes place, which is beneficial to both of them. So all these kinds of changes, they have become possible only because of the fact that the kind of money which was pumped in the Indian film industry, so that it could in a way afford that how the foreign technicians, they could also come. With this, we also find that some of the films, they in the recent times, they have been on certain concerns. And for example, Tare Zameen Par deals with dyslexia, and Do Duni Char talks about families' aspiration to move up financially. Then Life in a Metro deals with the solitude of people living in a metropolitan. Guzarish talks about euthanasia. Pa talks about progeria. So these are some of the concerns of the films which have been made in the recent times, and how when these kinds of films they were being made, people also became aware that how there's a issue called dyslexia which exists. At the same time, progeria, for example, exists, and this in a way creates such kind of a situation in individuals. And at the same time, the issue of mercy death was also being looked at from a different perspective from in the film called Guzarish. So we find that all these kinds of films, they are trying to project a different perspective. As you see,
just help the boy.
This film clip from Tare Zameen Par.
Come on, the rest of you, look into your books. Read the first sentence and tell me what the adjectives are. Okay, come on. Let's all mark the adjectives together. Just read the sentence for me.
So if you see the clip and if you've seen the film, you relate that how the travails or the problems of a child who is suffering from dyslexia is shown in this film, and how people they became aware that a child can have such kind of issues or problems in their childhood. And similarly, apart from this, other kinds of issues of a child, they were also being talked about in different kind of circles. And so learning and teaching are an important concern, and how they have to be taken care of. It is also being talked about because of the coming of this film. And many a times we have changed that how the coming of a song in a film was not an important concern in the later times, that many of the films, they were not making the routine formula of the songs which were there in the earlier films, and how the changing portrayal of women was also taking place. If you see this film clip from Dangal.
वो ऐसे ही करंट वर्ल्ड चैंपियन नहीं है, और एंजेलिना एक नए उत्साह के साथ इस राउंड में उतरी हैं। प्रेशर गीता पर
5 पॉइंट वाला दाव लगाना मुश्किल है, पर हो सके सामने वाले के दिमाग से खेलना है। दाव दिखाना कुछ है और लगाना कुछ।
और ये गीता का शानदार मूव, क्या समय उनका साथ देगा?
So if you have seen this film clip, you realize that how women in different kinds of sporting arena, they have brought laurels or medals for the country, and how such kind of portrayals, they play an important role in terms of motivating the younger generation. So we, in a way, when we want to conclude, we would like to say that how the coming of the globalization has in a way revolutionized the film industry, in the sense that various kind of changes they came in the production, exhibition, as well as the distribution of the films. With this, I'd like to end the discussion. Thank you very much.